Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar. My name is Henrik Amundsen and in this session we'll go through the manual inspection module in the WATS, and I will demonstrate how we can create, design and execute test sequences. And at the end of the webinar you may ask me questions if you have, and you may also use the GoToWebinar functionality to post your questions, and I will answer them from there. In the first part of the session, I will show you how we can create and edit test sequences. To do so, we must enter the WATS control panel. And from there, we navigate further into the manual inspection manager. In the left pane is where we find the test sequences we have created. They may be organized into different folders, as we see here, or reside in the root folder. To create a new sequence, I need to select the folder where I wish to put my sequence. And then from the ribbon, I select the new sequence option, and I'll give this sequence a more meaningful name. In the right pane, I can set different properties on the sequence. For instance, I can give it a description. And I can also set a default repair operation for our sequence. So whenever a step fails, the operator may use the repair codes from this operation when performing the repair analysis. The global property lets us mark the sequence for usage in other sequences. So when you design another sequence, you may use a global sequence as a subsequence. This may be very useful if you have many test steps which are used across many sequences. The required UR report on first failed test step forces the operator to submit the UR report whenever a step fails the test. When the reports have been submitted, the operator must reload the sequence afterwards and retest the step which failed. The required UR report property means that when this property is checked and whenever a step has failed, the operator needs to conduct a repair analysis. Below all these properties, we have a grid where we must define the products which may use the sequence that I created. We must also define at least one test operation for a sequence. So I will do that. I will add a value of webinar to the part number relation type, and I will also set the test operation to manual inspection. I also need to remember to set it as active, and when I've done this, I can go back to the ribbon and I can select the design sequence option. To give you a short introduction on the user interface, the outline view on the left allows you to see the design of your sequence from a high-level perspective. And you're also able to navigate to the different steps from here. This comes in very useful if you have designed a very large sequence. Then we have the designer view, which is the surface where we can add different step types from the toolbox. We do so by selecting an item from the toolbox, and then we drag it to the designer surface and into our root sequence. To give you a short introduction on the most common step types in the toolbox, first of all, we have the sequence type, which is a container where you may add other steps inside it to have them organized in a group. Then we have the numeric limit step type, which allow you a single numeric value to be measured against the whole low and high limit using a comparison operator. The pass-fail type measures a value of either true or false, which is very common when an operator only needs to confirm something during the manual inspection. The string value is more or less the same as the numeric limit type, the only difference being that it measures a string value against a string limit or a regular expression. These step types also share some common properties. The media URL are one of these and allow us to define a location for where test instructions are located. This might be to a PDF file, for instance. We have the PDF properties as well, which allow us to define which page in the PDF that will be shown when the operator is performing the test at this step. The steps also have the image attachment property in common. This property lets you control whether or not the operator must capture an image during the test step by using either the web camera or by uploading an image from the file system. I will proceed with creating a short and simple sequence, and I will show you how to execute this sequence using the operator interface. First of all, I will clear the contents of my sequence. I can do this by selecting it and then pressing the delete key. I will add 4 items of the pass-fail step type. And I will try to give them some meaningful names. Also, I can add a description to the step, and this will also be shown to the operator during execution of the test. And I'm also having a list shown here, which is basically giving me all descriptions in the system existing on other sequences. So I'm almost satisfied with my sequence. The last thing that I want to add is some test instructions. I can do this by clicking on the properties button on the root sequence, and I can set the media URL to point to the web server and location where I have the test instructions, and this time it's a PDF file. Also, I can set on each step which page number I want to show when the operator is executing this step. And when I'm satisfied with the design, I can save the sequence, and then I will show you how we can execute this in operator interface. So from the login page, I will select operator interface, and first I will need to scan some unit, and we added our relation to the webinar product for our sequence, so we'll add webinar as our part number. Then we'll apply and navigate to manual inspection. So you can see on the left that my sequence has been loaded, and as well as the test instructions. To provide you some information on the user interface, we have some functions here which allows you to add comment or attach an image to the step. For instance, we can try to attach an image. So I can decide if I want to use my web camera, or I can choose image from the file system as well. So I will do that. I will upload an image of the board, and then I will attach it. And as you can see, I have my board there. And what you didn't notice is that the progress of the sequence is saved in the background. So everything you do, you don't need to save between every change and edit you do. So, but you may also delete the progress from here if you want the operator to start from the beginning of the sequence. So I will pause this step, and also I want to show you how we can perform the repair analysis in manual inspection, and this is achieved by failing some of the test step or a single test step. So when I set this to false, I have a grid here where I can add a failure. So if I open the categories and code window, I see my default repair operation, and I also see the codes which I'm able to use in my analysis. I can select those from here as well, and I can add a failure to this test step, and I can refer it to a given component reference as well, and then we add the failure. I can also, and during the repair analysis, I can also look at the history of previous repairs on this product. For instance, look at which step has failed the most, how many times it has failed, and the most common reasons for it to fail, as well as its component reference. So I will pass the next two steps, and I will submit the report, and we'll have a look at those reports. So since I failed the test, I also added a failure to the failed test step. It produced a repair report. So we can open the repair report first. You can see that we have a reference to the step which failed and all the other repair information which we provided. And we also have a reference here to our UT report. And if we expand this, we'll also be able to look at the image that I attached to the test step. And we have our board here. So this was something about manual inspection. I advise you to visit our support and resource center. There you will find more articles on manual inspection in our knowledge base, and you're also able to provide us any ideas or suggestions for future improvements on the idea exchange. You may also send us questions at directly at support@feurinco.com. And thank you all for participating on this webinar, and I wish you a good week and a good weekend. Thank you.